Hello, this is my real world review on the new Dunlop MX32 front and rear tire. I ride mostly in Florida on soft terrain tracks, although some of the tracks I ride can have a harder base in some of the corners and stuff. First thing I want to point out is the difference. The MX32 rear tire actually weighs, I had an MX31 previously and it was worn out. I pulled it off, I weighed it, and then I weighed the MX32 brand new, and it was actually a pound lighter than the worn out MX31. So we're looking at a lighter tire. Brand new versus brand new, heck, it could be a pound and a half or 2 pounds lighter. As you know, anytime you lighten up your rotating mass, that's always a good thing. The bike's going to feel a little more nimble, feel lighter, drop in the corners a little bit easier. It's always good. The front tire actually weighed, if I remember correctly, it was like a half a pound lighter versus a worn out 31 front tire. So maybe new versus new, maybe closer to a pound, I'm not sure. But again, lighter's always better. So, and that's the first thing I noticed when I pulled them out of the bag was they felt very light in my hand, both of them, front and rear. I was like, wow, they've even shaved some more weight off these things. So, my first impressions of the tire, well, first off, the front shines. It was clearly better than the MX31. The front end, I can't tell you how much this thing just glues to the dirt. It's a very sticky front tire, lots of traction, but I'll get more on that in a little bit. The rear tire, first impression was just good everywhere. It didn't have one spot where it just shined. It just, everywhere I went, it was consistent, good traction, and just the best part was consistency. I always was giving a certain level of traction no matter how bad the conditions were. Even as it was stepping into some muddy days, I was still very impressed with the control and the amount of traction. I noticed in the corners with the rear, it would stay where I put it. You know, Dunlop talks about these extra little knob within a knob here providing more control slide, and maybe they're on to something, because the slide was definitely, you know, as the back end would drift out coming out of a corner, I could control how far it drifted out and where I wanted to drift to, much more than the previous MX31. So that was a good thing. With the rear, I probably have total on the front rear tire, I probably have 12 rides total on it. 12 full days riding I'm talking about. On a full day's riding, I'll put it anywhere between an hour and 15 minutes to up to 2 hours on it. And as you can see, the knobs are holding up fairly well for the amount of usage. And best part is, no cracks. If you remember the MX32 or 31 had a problem with cracking right between these knobs right here. Well, none all the way around. And you can see these knobs are holding up pretty well, despite the amount of hours I have them on it. Overall, I'm very impressed with the life that I've received out of them. Same with the front here. As you can see, it still has, you know, some of the heads of the nipples kind of, or the base of the nipples kind of showing, but it's holding up well, no cracks. Again, that was another complaint about the MX31 front, was it would crack right away, you know, within 3 or 4 rides. It's like, what the heck? So, you know, that's really good. I definitely noticed that they were a little bit lighter. I know it sounds crazy, just a pound in the rear and a half pound in the front, but you can feel that when it's rotating, when it's spinning, that's amplified. And I definitely could feel it. Again, the bike would drop in the corner a little quicker. Aerial maneuvers were a little bit snappier. You know, if you like to whip and scrub and stuff, you'll feel it. You know, it's going to kick out a little bit easier and a little bit snappier. And it'll come back in a little bit quicker too. But I can't say enough about the front wheel. I'll be honest, the front tire. This front tire is by far the best front tire I've ever used. It provided so much traction on my first full day's riding. Actually, the first 2 full days riding, I made quite a few mistakes, and I actually went down once each day due to the amount of traction that I wasn't expecting from the front wheel. You know, it was my normal home track going in a corner. I always expected a certain amount of front end slide as I was heavy on the brakes, just starting to lean in, entering the corner, heavy on the front brake. I would always expect a certain amount of just drift in this corner, and there was no drift. Instead, it was biting, and the corner had some braking bumps going in it too. So I was expecting the drift, and I get a bite instead, and well, ended up with me landing on my butt. I eventually changed my riding habits to fit the new tire. It was almost like learning a new bike almost. I changed my riding habits to learn a new tire, and man, I've been very pleased. The amount of traction is phenomenal. So much so that if you put the rear tire and the front tire, the MX32 tire, if you mount them both at the same time, you'll be so amazed by the front tire like I was that you won't even pay much attention to the rear. It's not until the conditions start changing, and that's when you start noticing that the rear is that's where you notice where the rear shines. It's not so much in the first impression like the front is, and it's not so much in just, you know, extreme amount of traction in one terrain, but it's consistency. It's always has a certain level of traction. It never has not enough traction. It always provides a certain amount of control, even in the worst conditions. Later in the day, when the track would dry out, people start complaining about not getting enough drive or just a lack of traction out there. I was almost scratching my head like, what are you guys complaining about? It feels great out there. And that's when I realized, oh, I got a new set of MX32 tires on. I know it sounds crazy, but they're really that good. They're good tires. And again, the fact that they're lighter. Anything lighter to me, you know, I've been called a gram counter, and, you know, I'm big on, you know, looking for anything titanium or whatever I can, you know. But anytime you can take weight off the wheels, that is the best place to remove the weight, and that's what these do. I would say these are the most race-ready tires we, the public, have ever received. I'm sure, you know, 5 years down the road, we'll look back and laugh at these tires, but as of today, these, I believe, are the best that you can get your hands on as far as soft terrain. Well, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I have more videos coming out here shortly on some tech tips and some more reviews. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click like and subscribe so you can catch the next videos I have coming out. And you guys take it easy.